city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez. I am here today so far with Ezra Parter and Jackie K. I do believe Evan will join us. I do believe Brennan will join us as well, but it remains to be seen. But thank you all for joining us. We have some exciting stuff to talk about today. We actually have a ticket giveaway to do today, so we already have about 60 people in the live viewing audience, and I probably would guess it has something to do with that, but thank you folks very much for joining us. We'll do that kind of at the end of our first segment. So that'll be somewhere in like the 350 range. So if you're here to see the ticket giveaway, stick around until around then, and you'll hear some wonderful Avs related news and stuff. And then we'll give you your free Avs hockey. How about that? That will be a fun thing to do. So yeah, we'll start the conversation with Sammy G's game-winning goal. The Avs on a good streak. We'll talk about Avs versus Kings, Caps, Flyers, do some NHL news, and recap our bold predictions, which will be a fun show, folks. Please go like, subscribe, and share this program with your fellow Avalanche fans. And go check out our Spotify channel, which has our full catalog of all 80. This is our 80th Mile High Hockey Lab episodes. We're 20 away from the Magic 100. But yeah, it's going to be a great show today. Plenty to talk about. So let's just get right into that wonderful and glorious game-winning overtime goal from a guy who was goalless heading into that scenario, Mr. Samuel Girard. He got a nice victory for the Avalanche. It's always nice to see, an overtime celebration in front of the home fans. Such a fun thing to do. And then of course you get the Connor McGahey line. What's the line he says? The party's over, right? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here because this party is over. I love that so much. It's my favorite thing he does. Of all the shticks, that's the one I think is really cool. But Ezra, I'll start this with you. Are you kind of starting to warm up to this Avalanche team in this year 2024 and 25 as we start to see some of these character victories for this club?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know me. I've been warm to the team already. For there's been some cold moments for sure, but I always had a bounce back in mind. I thought this team was solid and going to make its way back to health and back to victories. But they're doing it a little ahead of schedule, which is wonderful.
Yes.
I mean, to see them be able to defend at the NHL level through three bottom six, through the bottom nine, and score enough with the top group to get by, and then get those chip-ins from the defense that we haven't been getting for most of the year. That's wonderful. And I mean, Girard, man, what a play. Great way to close on the guy. Anytime you see somebody's back, you make a move, especially against the walls. And he got the turnover, played through a penalty that he drew, and what a finish. God, that was nice.
Yeah, it was wonderful, especially for a guy like me who's constantly banging on the don't trade Sam Girard drum, as most fans love to go to him immediately as a scapegoat. But a part of that is like something that Avs who are detractors, I guess, of what Sam Girard brings to the table always point to his shot. And I think that's a valid thing to point out for him, but it worked last night. And so that's what was cool. It was kind of like, obviously it's a breakaway, different scenario. I think the major complaint is not a lot of his shots get through traffic from the point. Fair enough. That being said, it's nice to see Sam Girard finish because he does have that ability. When the goal's there to be gotten, he will finish. It's just the seeking, point shots that you see from Cale Makar. That's a skill. That's not a given. And it's a skill that Girard doesn't seem to quite have as down pat as Cale Makar. Not a lot of defenders do. So that's kind of
specific. That's a superpower.
Yeah, exactly. So
among many superpowers.
Yeah, among many is right. Well, Jackie, Ezra says there's been cold moments, but yeah, he's starting to warm up a little bit. I'm impressed with the fact that the Avalanche have been able to kind of stick around that 500 mark, despite the injuries and the guys being off the roster. Are you impressed with that as well?
I don't know if I'd say impressed. I mean, it's nice that they've picked up some decent wins. I mean, for me, my opinion of this team was never like reactionary. It was never like, oh my God, they lost 4 in a row. It's something that I've believed over the last at least 2 years. So it's going to take a lot for me to really change that opinion. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't say impressed, but it's good to see nice wins, but long way to go.
Yeah, well, I want to give you the first question I gave Ezra too, because you mentioned in shows past that like they don't do this. The past few Avs clubs haven't really like done much for you emotionally, or like you don't really have like a emotional tie to the team like you have in the past. Is that still true for you right now?
Yeah, I'd say that's true. I mean, obviously, I like seeing Gerard score like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But, yeah, I guess not really.
Yeah.
Like superstars are cool. Like, sure, it's cool watching them do their thing, but yeah, it's going to take a lot to bring this team back to lovable, I guess you could say. Like,
Yeah.
it takes more than one game, like one cool win. It's just, like I said, long road ahead of them to really get back to something special, really. I mean, there's a lot of good players in the league. There's a lot of good teams in the league. I know Avs fans don't think that there's like any other good teams in the league, but there's a lot of good teams, competitive teams, ones that are going to make the playoffs, ones that should win most nights. So, I mean, what really separates them? I don't think there's anything right now.
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, I totally understand what it is that you're getting at there, because, and I've said this a few times already as it pertains to kind of the guys that left the Avalanche, but to me, a lot of the guys that aren't with the Avs anymore from the Cup year were in fact like the glue and the emotionally the guys that fans really get emotionally attached to, and I think that we're starting to see who that is for this version of the Avalanche. In my opinion, I think Casey Middlestat, for one, is coming to the forefront in terms of striking the heart of an Avs fan as kind of like not the version of the second line center we were hoping for, but seemingly one that's plenty serviceable as we sit right now. He's not scoring goals by the score, but he's leading to goals by the score. And that's kind of like something I didn't expect from a guy like Casey Middlestat. I think obviously like the young dudes like Prishchapov, that's been very endearing to me for this club and to see how that's worked. But Evan, what about you? Are you starting to get a little bit more emotionally invested, a little more warmed up to this version of the Avalanche club? Or are you like Jackie and it's still a long road ahead for you?
A little bit of both. I'm
Okay.
going to go with a little bit of both because, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was very happy when Sammy G scored the overtime winner last night. Who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Jackie said, it is a long road ahead. The Avs have played 16 games. They are 8-8 at an even 500 right now. And really, that's considering the start of the season that they had. Like I'll take that. I'll take that. So, it's still a long ways to go, and you still have people that are coming in soon. Of course, Drouin and Wood were all skating in a regular jersey today, if I'm not mistaken. And so like those are two big pieces that are coming back. Nichushkin's coming back on Friday. So then I think that's when you can maybe start to be a little bit more, as you say, emotionally invested and really sort of see a true turning of the tides, I guess, in terms of results anyway on that front.
Yeah, and you know what, Evan? I asked you a question, and I didn't even introduce you to the audience because you weren't here.
I know. I keep. This is the second week in a row I'm running late, and I got to put myself in the penalty box or something.
Geez,
man.
don't. Yeah, keep it up, and we're going to give you 2 in a game or 5 in a game. So, but no, I'm happy to have you, Evan, and we are also currently joined by Brennan as well. So, Brennan, I'm going to send that one to you now. We'll get everyone's take. Are you warming up to this Avs? Were you already warmed to this group of Avs, or are you with Jackie and sort of with Evan and it being a long road ahead?
I was saying from the beginning it was going to be a long road ahead. So I knew it was going to be a battle, and then with all the injuries and everything, it's just not helping. So it's going to take some time to get that chemistry with everyone. And if Landy ends up having to come back, I'll discuss that later. But he's going to need some time to adjust.
Yeah. I mean, if Landy comes back and all these other guys come back and by some grace of God, the Avalanche maintain some health, I think the buy-in from fans will not be an issue. Although it's not important to the outcome, I just think like the Landeskog story, as soon as he hits the ice, the Avs will be the biggest story in the NHL, especially if he starts to find success and they look like a contender coming around into the playoffs. But yeah, let's save that for a little bit later, Brendan. I like that little foreshadowing there. But I do want to ask Ezra, I'll circle back to you. It's been a while. the goalie situation here in Colorado. We see Kakkonen placed on waivers, picked up by Winnipeg. And we've seen a couple more starts from Georgiev that have a semblance of stability. How do you feel about the goalie room right now?
I mean, yeah, Georgiev bouncing back is encouraging, but he's still the exact same guy who's sometimes good and sometimes terrible. So, I think both goalies are exactly who they've been this whole time. Nothing has changed my opinion of either of them. If there's an upgrade out there, the Avs should be looking at it. But if not, there's a version of Georgiev we can have confidence in. We just don't know if he's going to show up every night. And same goes for Annunen, really. I mean, Annunen's a guy I think can grow into it more. There's more upside there. Georgiev, we've seen exactly how good he can be and how frequently he is not. So it just comes down to whether they can keep their play at high levels and when. I still think it's when, not an if, the Avs make a move for somebody to be a true starter.
Well, that's an excellent segue because, Jackie, you have a long prediction that the Avs will acquire a veteran netminder ahead of Nichushkin's returning to the lineup. We know that's happening on Friday. Nichushkin's return, that is. Do you still feel confident about that trade for a goalie?
No, I'd say no. They made their move. It was getting rid of Kakkonen. If they were gonna shuffle things, they probably needed to keep him. But I don't know if it's settled long term. But I just don't think this week it's going to be it.
Okay.
Because I said all along that I just don't think they have a full goalie depth chart. Maybe they feel okay with how it is right now, but they still only have 4 NHL contracted goalies, and Minor and Mandalise in the AHL are still very unproven. So, I mean, maybe they're comfortable with it now. I don't want them to just make like a panic trade because they don't have depth. Like, if one guy really goes down, truly, they're kind of in trouble. So, but at status quo right now, I guess they're good rolling with it. I think it's funny that Georgiev seemed to get one of his little mental breaks. It wasn't like Annunen got the net or whatever. Like, it totally was planned. They totally had planned that he was going to play that Winnipeg game. And now it's like, oh, yeah, he's our starter. Like, what? Why wouldn't he be? It's just, it's funny how that has unfolded. And today, even Bednar was like, oh, Annunen hasn't played much at this level. So that tells you right there that him being the starter was never going to happen anyway. So I guess they're good for now. They're probably going to stick with what they have.
That's fair. And I take the same thing away, that they're like, all right, well, we didn't solve anything from the waiver wire. We probably won't. But Ezra, I felt like I cut you off there. Did you have one last thing to touch on in terms of the netminders?
No, but what Jackie said made me think of something, which is we also have to think about the goaltending is a result of team play in front of them. So with guys coming back into the lineup, I expect we'll see both goalies look better.
Improve a little bit. Yeah, that's a good point. Evan, your take on the goalie room, what it means to you that Kakkonen was so quickly claimed by Winnipeg. And were there any takeaways or performances this week from the past week that stuck out to you?
I mean, I'm not surprised that Kakkonen was kind of the odd man out. I feel like Georgiev would have like really, really had to fail, like arguably even more than he did to start the season, if he was going to have any chance of being shipped out of Colorado. So, I mean, Kakkonen played what, 2 games with the Avs, if that even. It's like one game, so he didn't even get much of a chance at all. So, I'm not too surprised. I'll say that. And in terms of, I guess, the future of goaltending, what kind of the last week showed me, well, yes, Georgiev played 3 of the 4 games, got 3 wins, in the last week. I'm still not 100% sold on him. I'm still not. There's been a couple of times where like his rebound control could be a little bit better. I'm looking at like not the first goal last night. Which goal was it? The other night, last night? I don't remember, but like his rebound control could be a little bit better. And I would like to see at least a little bit more competition in net. I would like to see Annunen play a little bit more. I missed Bednar's comments about what Jackie said at that Georgiev is basically saying that Georgiev's our guy and that like Annunen hasn't played that much because was our guy for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's not enough to give you at least something, a different option. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a little surprising to me. Because I would like to see some more competition. I'd like to see them play a little more,
Here's the thing.
even Steven, I guess. But
he doesn't get more time by not getting starts. So it's
exactly
sort of silly to be like, he doesn't have a lot of time in the league. Well, it's like, there's a quick way to fix that, and that's to give him more time in the league.
I was say, who's the one that controls that? Like, come on.
But in the context of the interview, though, it was kind of more of a like, yeah, we got rid of Kakinen because the other two guys stepped up, but we're still not sure what comes next because Georgiev's been bad and Ananen hasn't played that much. So it was
I still don't believe that it was George panic why they picked him up. It's such a coincidence that
they liked him. And they wanted to see him.
We know that they liked him in the past, but they waited to waive him until it was after the month where they could potentially put him back in the AHL, and if anybody else claimed him, Winnipeg was in trouble. So I don't know. I still don't believe it was like, we're so worried about these guys. We got Kakinen to kick them in the butt. I don't know. I don't believe all of that.
Well, Brendan, I saw you raising your hand. I assume you want to chime in. What's your thought?
Yeah. So Jackie brought up the Eagles, the goaltending with the Eagles just a few minutes ago. But of the three goalies, Kakinen and Minor and Manalise, Kakinen had the worst GAA. With in the AHL. So to me, that says something.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Miner's been okay. That's putting it a decent way. But between
he was
him
amazing for the first 2 weeks, and then he was okay for the 2 weeks. So I mean, it's like whatever. It's totally up in the air.
Yeah, it's like, and I think I said even in the last start Minor that Manalise is definitely has started to take the starting role for the Eagles. But Kakinen is close to he's a 2.57 GAA. Yeah. Which doesn't seem high, but when Minor's sitting at 2.34 and he hasn't been good, that's saying something.
Mm-hmm. And Mandalise is under 2. He's at 195 or something like that.
He's 1.78.
7.8, even better.
Yeah. So I mean, writing's kind of on the wall. If it's performance based, like most jobs are, it sounds like it didn't quite work here, and that they'll kind of move on to the next guy that they might have their eyes on that hits the waiver wire. But I'm with you, Jackie. Like, I'm not sold that the depth chart itself is even set, especially into the future. We know Georgiev's contract is coming up pretty soon here. And it kind of does feel like the Avs' next great goalie isn't on this roster. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. But I want to do our ticket giveaway real quick. And that's a pretty excellent segue into us previewing the Kings game, because my first question is who's the starter for the Kings. But let's give against the Kings. But let's give this wheel a spin. We're giving away 2 tickets to the Kings games, folks. And if you would go give us a follow on Twitter or X at MHH, all caps MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey. That way you are notified every single time that we are doing one of these ticket giveaways. This one is 2 tickets to the Avs vs. Kings tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We've got, 22 participants here, and I'm going to spin the wheel now, and we'll see how it goes.
Drum roll, please. It's me. I won. I'm just kidding.
And it's at the most comfy. So the most comfy, let's go see who that is, because that's a funny tag there. You are going to go to the Avalanche game for free on, I guess on our dime over here at Mile High Hockey, baby. But we don't care. It's fine. We love you. Let's see who it was. What did I say? The most comfy? The most comfy. Some of these people gave us pictures as well of who their hockey buddy is, and I thought that was wonderful. So keep doing that, folks, and we will make sure that we will get these tickets over to you, the most comfy. Thank you for participating in our ticket giveaway. But let's get back to the action that will be on the ice in front of you, which is Avs vs. Kings. I'll go with you, Mr. Managing Editor Evan. Who do you think will be in the net for the Avalanche?
I think they're going to keep rolling with Georgie. It seems right to do that, at least at the moment. He's playing much better than he did to start the season. I mean, his confidence looks much better. That diving save at the end of last game, my goodness. If that was Georgie a month ago, he would have stayed in the middle and like stuck out his paddle. And that's probably all that he would have done.
Yeah.
So I think you got to keep rolling with him. That's just going to be the way I think it is, at least for the time being. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave Andrew a shot because the Kings are, I think, kind of like in the middle of the pack, if I'm not mistaken, too. And if you want Andy to keep getting more time and balance things out, you could do it. But I'm like 70-30 that it's going to be Georgie.
Yeah, I think Georgie will get the bulk of the starts going forward, barring cataclysmic failures, which we haven't seen since early on, at least in the last 3 or 4 starts for, I guess 3 really for Georgie.
Kings are number 1 in the Pacific.
So that's going to be a pretty good test.
Never mind. Don't listen to me. As you can tell, I'm very out of tune with things at the moment.
Well, Brent, 21 points.
Who's your matchup nightmare against LA, Brendan?
Mine that?
Yeah, who are you worried about?
As in terms of players?
Yeah, or like which king are you worried about the most?
Andreas England against against Samuel Girard.
Yeah. Just on size or
just on size?
Yeah.
I think Girard's faster. He'll be all right.
Yeah, he is. But I'm just saying, it's just if Andreas England were to take a nasty hit on Sammy, he's done for a bit.
Yeah. Yes. Sammy's not afraid to get his nose in there, which can be kind of a bad thing at times. It's like, Sammy, maybe just duck on out of that one but you know, it is what it is. When you're a guy like Sam Girard, you take the good with the bad, right? You're small, but that means you're faster, like Jack.
Yeah, he'll just spinny boy it out.
Yeah, spinny boy. I like the tornado. He'll have to use the tornado as more of a defensive tactic this time around, hopefully. But the other thing that will happen this week is we will see Alex Ovechkin coming to town on his trace of Wayne Gretzky's goals record. Let's send this one over to you, Ezra, because I feel like you'll have fun with this. Are you confident that Ovechkin will catch Gretzky? And if and when he does he go full Emmitt Smith and just keep playing as long as he can to put a pad on that record so that it truly is unbeatable?
I think so. I mean, when all this talk of him chasing Gretzky first started happening, I thought there was no way that he was going to age with any kind of grace because he's played a power game for his whole career, and he seemed to be in a steep decline. But I mean, so far this season, he looks young again. He looks good. He looks like he can do it this year. It'll probably take 2 years, but
yeah.
Unless he kind of slows down again like he did last season, because by the end of last season, he looked like he was maybe a little cooked. So if he doesn't slow down like that, then yeah, I think it happens, and I think he goes as long as he can because he seems like he has that Yager mentality a little bit where there's nothing else for him to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just gonna want to play for his entire life until
he wants to go to Russia.
Yeah, until Putin calls him home to come play for CSKA or something. But I could see him sticking around for as long as he possibly can, for sure.
Yeah, because he's 31 goals right now behind the record currently as he sits. And so extrapolating what he's got this season out into the future, he'll get pretty close, but you're right. It'll probably be next season that he actually breaks the record, but it could be early next season. And so it's like he could basically break the record in November or December next season, and then have the rest of the season just to kind of pad that stat. And we used to look at this Gretzky record and say, nah, no one will ever get close. Jackie, do you think young Austin Matthews could get close?
Probably, but I haven't seen like his goal total is how far away he is, but sure, I think the new generation of goal scoring's up. I think there'll be somebody that'll probably get close.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I'm gonna say that I think Ovechkin does it this year.
That would be awesome.
I think Because you're right. I think that would be more exciting to kind of like end with that rather than just like, oh, he needs 5 goals this year. Like,
Yeah.
it's not as movie worthy, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm. Well, I bring up the question because if you do the same extrapolating, I love that word, by the way, if you couldn't tell, with Austin Matthews' numbers, he has 373 goals in 575 games played. So that's compared to Ovechkin, who has, bear with me here, 863 goals in 1,440 games. So if Austin Matthews plays even like 1,100, 1,200, I think he has a chance of catching, and he'll at least be in the conversation. So it's like, what an interesting thing. We regarded this goal record as something that would never, ever even come close. And now it feels like Ovechkin is going to do it. And there's maybe 2 or 3 guys coming up that might tease his record as well, which says a lot about, the goal scoring in the league right now, which I'm excited about. I think I'm actually going to be in the building for that. So maybe I can go down to the warm up, put up a sign that says, Ovi, give me a puck so I can be a millionaire. And we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about the next game. Well, actually, yeah, it is that game where we will see the return of Val Nichushkin. Brandon, tell me about where you expect Val Nichushkin to slot into the lineup, and how excited are you for his return to the Avs?
Well, considering he's on my fantasy team, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I've been sitting with him technically on the IR the whole year. So, but that's besides the point. Anyways, I'm excited because he's just going to add that much more grit on the line. He's going to go on the left side, and then it's going to be a competition between whether they're going to do Lecky, Drouin, or him on the left side. So I think they'll probably try and slot him in on the first line with McKinnon and Rantanen to start, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, so you're thinking he's starting right off the rip, right on the top line, likely on the first power play as well. Ezra, you're making a beautiful face. Tell me why you're making
a disagreement face.
I'm just surprised by that assessment. I mean, Drouin held down that spot, so I think if Drouin's back, he probably takes the top spot, and then you have that Lehkonen, Middlestat, Nichushkin line back together. That seems like a no-brainer to me. But it depends on all the other injuries, right? If Drouin's not back yet, then everything's up in the air. So.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Drouin. This is how out of touch I've been with Avs stuff for the last week and a half. If Drouin, Wood, and Nichushkin all come back on Friday, first off, holy moly, that's like that scene in Avengers, where everyone's coming out of the portals to help. And you basically get your entire top 9 back, except for Ross Colton. But at that point, then it would probably be Drouin top line, and then you'd probably have that Lehkonen, Middlestat, Nichushkin line, and that's just a deadly combo.
We need sound effects. Avengers assemble.
I mean, that was.
Don't come after us, Disney. We're not trying to do anything.
I do feel like
it wasn't the actual sound effect. It was just me saying it.
Handcuffed to McKinnon, pretty much. So
you said Drouin's handcuffed to McKinnon, pretty much.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I would agree. We'll just say yes. I was about to make an analogy that's probably not appropriate, but yeah, he's definitely, the two go together. We'll put it that way. And we got Peter Mann saying Nichushkin is my favorite player. Like JB, I'd play him 40 minutes a night.
He probably will.
I was gonna say Bednar loves the motor on Val, and to be fair, that's a good thing to have as a power forward. So I, for one,
going to have a lot to prove, man. That motor's going to be running.
Yeah, and I'm interested about that, Ezra. I think that's the most interesting thing that going into this is like, how is Val gonna perform? Because heading into being an Avalanche, Val was slighted on who knows what. I mean, he didn't have a goal for Dallas. Who knows what contributed to that? But like, my biggest fear is that it's a mental thing and it's a backing of his club thing. And maybe in Dallas, he didn't feel like he was really a part of the team.
I think he was on the fourth line too.
Yeah, and it's like in Colorado,
fourth line is where all careers go to die.
Yeah, well, and Dallas misuses some of their prospects because that's where Tufty played too.
Yeah. Well, in Colorado, though, he's not even had a semblance of those issues. So I'm just fearful of the contributing factors to that happening in Dallas, potentially happening in Colorado. But at the same time, I'm with you guys. Like, he's already proven himself to be a part of this team as a Stanley Cup champion, a crucial proponent in doing so. So, like, I think I'm just kind of worried for no reason. But I am interested to see how, because the opposite direction in terms of that reaction is he's just absolutely got his hair on fire. And we see the guy who was on pace to score the most goals in the playoffs with Connor McDavid last year. And if that's the Val Nichushkin that comes out to play on Friday night against the Capitals, like, the Avs are in good shape going forward for a little bit. Especially if if Drouin and Wood join the party as well. Like you mentioned, Evan, that's basically everybody outside of Colton and Landeskog. So we're getting there little by little, but I have one last question as it pertains to teams we'll play this week. And Jackie, I saved it for you because it's about a young 19-year-old Michkov for the Philadelphia Flyers. He had a pretty nice game against the Sharks, but it was right after being a healthy scratch in 2 straight games. Are you convinced that he'll stick around? And are you convinced on him as like an NHL talent? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think he's definitely a talent. When he was healthy scratched, he was their second leading scorer, which is
Yeah.
I think I said before the season started that I wouldn't be shocked if they sent him to the AHL for like 2 weeks or something random like that, which could still happen. But I think he's proven that he was worth the hype. I mean, to be able to score like that on a bad team, it's also not easy.
Well, that could have also been Torts being Torts.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a reason, but I don't know if he scratched maybe like 2 games. I know he played in the last game, so maybe it'll be interesting to see him. I did watch him a little bit in one of the first games that he played, and like, he's got an incredible shot. If you haven't seen him play, that's going to be something fun to see.
I'm excited. I like playing teams that are, that aren't very good, because hopefully that means the Avs get a victory. But I also like playing teams that have young talent, just to kind of see how they fare. That's why I like the Chicago games, even though the Avs should win those every time. It's fun to get a glimpse at kind of the future of the NHL. But do any of you, the other panel members, have any comments on Michkov? Are you excited for that matchup? Where do you see him playing in terms of matchups? Like, who's he going to play against?
I'm excited to watch Michkov just because I haven't seen much of him, and sure, that'll be interesting. But I'm also interested in another reason for that Phillies game. That's the wrong team. That Flyers game.
Oh, you're gonna steal my
two things. One, it is my first 7 p.m. Eastern time here in the East Coast, so it's finally a normal starting time for me.
I get to sleep.
And 2, I'll let Jackie say it because I know she wants to say it.
Okay, and 2.
Johnson's 1000th game.
Oh,
Just
that would
maybe.
be cool. That would be cool.
I think they're planning for it because EJ does not play every game. So,
and that's in Denver, I assume.
No, it's in Philly.
It's in Philly, yeah.
But
yeah, it'd be perfect if
his teammates are there to celebrate him.
Exactly. Right? I think the respect that he has and how big of a part he is of the Avalanche, they have to be planning for this. Like,
how fun.
Because if he played every game, it would already happen. But when I looked and I noticed that he'd been getting scratched, and I'm like, oh, wow, he's really close. And then, so he didn't play, I don't know, for maybe like 3 games, 4 or something like that. But he played last night. And so it was like, okay, now he's two away. So Philly has 2 games before the Avs game. So he needs 1 play and 1 scratch. And then he'd be at 1,000 for the Avs game.
Well, and then we can probably expect Landy to travel.
That makes
perhaps, sense. Yeah. I feel like
it's going to be a definite with that one.
I feel like they have to have planned for this, especially with him getting the scratches. If he's playing every game, then you just play, and then whatever happens. But
and we talk about Torts too, like scratching like young guys and whatnot. he loves his veterans. I feel like that's something that a vet, like he's like, oh yeah, we respect you. Like that's something that we'll do for you.
I can see that.
That seems like a Torts move too. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So we'll see. I'm definitely watching for that to see if it lines up perfectly for that game on Monday.
Eric Johnson will always hold a special place in my heart, obviously, because of his Stanley Cup contributions, but also personally, like my brother, he's kind of like almost a diehard Avs fan. He loves the Avs, doesn't like anybody else, but he's just not always in tune. And whenever he would watch a game when we had Eric Johnson, he would always say, every time that damn Eric Johnson gets the puck, he shoots. And I just always thought that was hilarious. And now when we watch him for Philly, I'm going to see if that's still true. And then I can send clips to my brother like, hey, dude, some things just never change. But I mean, what was funny is when EJ went coast to coast and scored, I told my brother, I said, well, that's why he shoots every time. Look at this guy. He's freaking Cale Makar.
Condor flies.
Yeah, why wouldn't you shoot every time? So that's exciting. I didn't even think about that. 1,000 games for Mr. Eric Johnson, former first overall pick too. So that's really cool. Of the St. Louis Blues, right? Am I tripping?
Yep. He was traded for Shattenkirk.
That's right.
And Chris Stewart.
Yeah, and Stewie. Hang on.
Well, yeah, well, we don't mention him.
No Chris Stewart eraser.
Well, that's kind of the 3 games that will happen between today's show and our next show next Tuesday, the Kings, Capitals, and Flyers. I'm thinking the Avalanche can at least win 2 of the 3 of those. Maybe the Kings being the toughest competition. If you beat the Kings, I think you can beat the Caps and the Flyers. Hell, if you beat the Hurricanes, I think you can beat the Kings, the Caps, and the Flyers. But that's just me. So things are kind of looking up for the Avalanche. Brandon, you kind of teased a little bit about Landeskog and something you wanted to talk about. Let's go there now.
Well, if you watch the Connor McGahey, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative Nancy or anything like that, but if you watch the Connor McGahey video, there was all this talk about him having setbacks and things like that, and then coincidentally, Landy comes out.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? 2 days later, 3 days later, or something like that, and is on the ice,
right?
And you watch the video, and the right leg is very, 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 very stiff in that shooting.
Yeah,
he's not bending that leg whatsoever.
Interesting.
Which tells me he's probably wearing a knee brace under all the pads.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So I may be reading too much into it.
It's your job, but that's fine.
But
that's what the Avs give us as tea leaves.
Yeah, exactly. It's all we have to read.
I mean, I'm trying to be positive about it. It's just watching the video. I mean, I was watching it on loop for like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm just like, I would normally bend my leg on that.
Yeah.
But I'm also not a left-hander.
Yeah.
I'm a right-hander. But
I'll say this. I watched it too many times also. But I'll say they were working on a goalie drill. So
yeah.
It was not a Landeskog drill per se, although I'm sure if there was one, we would have got footage of that drill rather than the goalie drill. So just bringing him out there to do goalie drills, also probably not a very good sign. I'll say this. I think if he's going to return, it's looking more like February now.
Yeah, and then Jesse Montano posted a video later and then mentioned, it's like all the negative people. I do want to mention like that, and like he commented on his own thing, and I'll have to admit, when I was posting Landy videos, that I was getting a lot of negative feedback, and it's like, come on, people, the guy is trying to rehab. If you've ever tried to come back from a rehab or from an injury, I myself have come back from 2 back surgeries. I'm still working my way back. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, at this point, he needs to be with the team and doing team things. So it's not good for him, for the fans, for anybody to. And then, like I said, all we are given is tea leaves. It's what we're used to. But at this point, he's going to skate. He's going to not skate. We get it's not like a linear thing. You do have setbacks, whatever. Like all that is perfectly understandable. But from this is the team that we are supporting standpoint, like he's not part of the quote unquote team until he is. it really doesn't matter. And
Yeah. Well, and with the Montano video, it's like I was watching that a lot because it was more of him doing strides and crossovers a little bit more, but and even then his leg was kind of stiff. So it's hard to interpret, but I've had knee injuries, I've had back injuries, I've had shoulder injuries. They're all not fun.
Yeah. SK says, "Preach, Brennan." Rehab. He says rehab is is so heavy mentally. Lanny needs his support.
Yeah.
Well, it's been almost 3 years. No matter what your injury is or what your circumstances, it's very difficult to come back from that.
If
So at
if
this
I could,
point,
sorry, go ahead.
I think we should, let him be, is I guess what I'm saying. Like, yes, he does deserve support and all that, but from is he going to play for this team standpoint, I think we and they should be better off at this point planning for it to not happen.
Interesting.
I'm just trying to be more positive with it, and say, if you want to continue your career, keep trying for it. But there's a point where you got to start looking at post career. Are you even going to be comfortable?
Yeah. Evan, you mentioned you had something to mention.
I was gonna say I want to provide at least some context for people who might not be like fully in the loop like we are, because I think at least part of that frustration has come from 3 years of this sort of unknowingness and just kind of watching from afar like what Landeskog is doing, whatever. Sure, that makes sense. But I think also part of the frustration has come from what we've been told too by the team and by reporters. All this stuff was that Landy, it was said in August at the golf, I don't know, whatever PGA thing was going on in Denver, that he was eyeing a return near the start of the season. Mm-hmm. That could have been from October to maybe the end of this month, end of November, so somewhere in that range, right? And then he wasn't on the ice at all for training camp in September. That I think piqued some interest, right? Mm-hmm. And then we didn't hear anything, for a while until last week when, of course, take it with a grain of salt, the source, but Adrian Dater, kind of just came out of the blue with this, right? And I think Bednar too had been asked about Landy and said like, oh, it wasn't a setback, he's just taking some time off the ice, whatever. But then the next day on his radio show, he says, "Oh, there was you could call it a setback." Mm-hmm. Right. And then later that morning, at his morning skate conference, he's like, "Oh, it wasn't a setback." So I think that's the thing too that's frustrating, is that there's like different forms of communication and different things that you're hearing and saying and whatnot. And I know I mentioned it last week that Brennan and I had heard, some rumors about Landeskog, and we weren't really too sure what it meant or if they were true or not. And lo and behold, after all this accusations, I guess you could say, come out, 3 days later, he's there skating, on the ice. Yeah. Now,
it's not
of course,
coincidence.
And of course, as Brennan said, it is nowhere near what he was doing like in May, like during the playoffs, right? During those practices. And
well, that's why
it's just a long way away.
You could have had a reasonable, I don't know, I guess, expectation that if where he was at in the spring, he improved over the summer, which we wouldn't be privy to watching, mm-hmm. and then he would come in the fall and would be another step. I didn't think he was going to hit the ice in October or whatever, but the fact that he had to take such a big step back off the ice completely. And, to your point about the misinformation, of course, PR is going to manage it. And when Bednar said it was a setback, and then that afternoon he said it wasn't, he obviously was told not to say that or admit it. But he even said the other day, too, he's like, Landeskog's been on and off the ice for 2 years. Like, he's kind of getting at what I'm getting at. Until something changes, this is what it is, and this is what the reality is. And there's no more like, oh, it's a little, because he's probably going to do a little bit more. He's probably going to do more morning skates and things like that, but it's nowhere near a path to playing.
The thing is, too, I'll go off. This is the last thing I'll mention, is that I think too that they had said if there's any sort of setback, it's like back to step one, right?
Well, that's
I
if he has
don't
to
know.
have surgery again. That's
Well, yeah, and
like
I was
true
gonna say
square one.
I don't think they have gone back to step one when
Yeah.
you're skating a week later after this setback, right?
That's the major setback.
And yeah, and I mean, like I'll admit, I was pleasantly surprised to see him on the ice. I definitely did not think that we would see him skating again until January, February at the earliest. But then a return in like March, April, start of the playoffs, maybe something like that. Now he obviously still has a long ways to go, and we don't really know, right? This is one morning skate that he did training the goalies. So who knows what this means, in terms of his timeline to return. It's obviously not happening tomorrow, but it could happen, as Ado said, maybe in January or or maybe like I'm thinking more towards the end of the season, start of the playoffs.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
I think it's funny because maybe Bednar watches our show. It's possible because he said one of his excuses for Landeskog was well, he talks to the training staff and every once in a while we take the foot off the gas, and that sounds eerily similar to what I said when I was like, hey, maybe Landeskog is a little bit just wanting to kind of back off for a second, take a little bit of a breather. But he did say it was a setback, but just not a major one. So I'll take the L on that. Brennan, you ever laugh at me like that again?
I'm sorry. I mean, it's kind of like
what would you do if he just commented right now on our YouTube comments like, Brennan, I am here. How dare you?
Yeah, well, it's like Chris with Locked On Avalanche. He how shocked he was when he found out that Landy was listening to him in the car.
Yeah. See, people do it.
I think the organization does monitor more than you would think.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised.
Me. Sammy Girard deserves more respect. I've loved him since development camp in Nashville. Also me. I love Sammy G. Always have since he was in Nashville. Also me. No, Sammy, not like that. Oh,
Brian.
All right, I guess
shout out Brian from On the Fort Check. That's our sister site. Go give him a follow.
Predator sister site. Yeah, we won that trade, Brian. Deal with it.
Well, come help us fend off the haters then.
Yeah.
We need all the help we can get.
Brian's like, yeah, trade Sammy Girard back to Nashville.
Nope, absolutely not.
Yes,
he's ours and he is staying here forever.
And forever. All right, well, that just leaves our last segment, which we will cover some NHL news and we will recap our bold predictions. I got us covered on the NHL news thing, mostly because I think it's hilarious that ESPN even does power rankings for hockey, for how infamously they're never right or even like using the right person's name on a graphic during their broadcasts. But right now they have their top 5 in the power rankings listed as Jets, Hurricanes, Rangers, Panthers, Wild, with the Avalanche sitting at number 19 in their power rankings. Jackie, what do you think of that?
It's probably fair. I mean, it depends how narrow of a scope you're looking at. Like a lot of the in the moment rankings are going to take just the present into account. Like the Avs are a 500 team. Like how much higher do you expect them to be?
Yeah, no doubt.
The whole assumed contender thing. It depends what models you look at. Some models take into account, what they were expected to be. So it's not just all present moment.
Right.
And it factors in some of that. But I think the people that have models that do that are sort of discounting them, saying like, we don't think that they're going to reach our expectations in the model. So, do I think they're the 19th team in the league? Right? No, probably not. But hot take, I don't think they're contenders anymore. So where does that put them? There's a big range there. Like I've always said, they're not contenders, but are they bad? No. So it's just, it's sort of in the upper middle there. And what that really means, I don't know. So, but if you go on what they are, they're a 500 team. Yeah, that's probably 19.
I was going to say right about in the middle right there. So yeah, I would say that's pretty poignant. Go ahead, Evan.
And that ranking is going to go up anyway, I'd imagine, with all these guys coming back, because then the Avalanche will look more like a hockey team, right?
Yeah.
And so you would hope that in turn that leads to results, and then will suffice for ESPN's clicks. So we shall see.
Yeah, so this was done before the Carolina and Nashville game too, so take that into consideration. But like you said, Jackie, 42.86% of their points. That's middle of the road, just below middle of the road, and that's about where they find themselves, just behind the Utah Hockey Club at 18, Edmonton at 17, St. Louis at 16. The team that stood out to me, though, was the Wild at number 5.
They have a
Ezra.
good record.
Yeah, they've won 76% of their points. Their previous ranking was 4. They went down 1 to 5. But like no one had the Wild.
Oh, and the media's
circled.
decided Kaprizov's winning the Hart Trophy, by the way.
Yeah, it feels like we're well on the way towards that. Ezra, what are your thoughts on the Wild?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, they've been really effective. They're playing well. They're getting great goaltending, which that ultimately determines a lot for most teams.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock Faber continues to take steps. I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's a wonderful player. Not a Cale Makar echelon defender by any means, but certainly top end in the league. That's great. Kaprizov, yeah, if he puts up points like this all year, I think it makes sense to have him in the MVP conversation. Absolutely. I'm sure he'll slow down. But as a team, yeah, they're doing it. I mean, 76% points percentage is pretty good. These rankings, these ESPN rankings, are generally sorted by points percentage, so they don't really mean much, but they're very much reactionary to what's already happened, not to any kind of projection of what might happen in the future. But Minnesota is a team in the top end that is a surprise, but is a team that's in the top end having beaten good teams. Whereas other teams in the top end that are a surprise, like a Capitals or a Golden Knights, you look at who they've beaten. I guess Golden Knights aren't really surprised, but you look at who they've beaten and you're like, oh yeah, okay. So
yeah,
what does that mean? But the Wild, they're legit.
Well, unfortunately for the Wild, they won't play the Avalanche until January. So it would have been nice for them to have gotten a couple of division, at least one. I mean, the Predators have played us twice already with such an understaffed roster. So, I mean, in the terms of stealing points from your division foes, Predators probably prefer to play the Avs now rather than in January. And so it'll be nice that the Avs won't have any Minnesota Wild action until I think January 9th, excuse me. And then they got them again January 20th, and then again February 28th, and then again on March 11th. So like those games might be important. We might be talking about an Avs Wild rivalry again if the Wild keep playing well, because Dallas seems pretty content on still making the playoffs. The Jets seem pretty content on making the playoffs despite my season-long bold prediction. So it's going to be like Avs and Wild kind of duking it out for 3 and the wild card, if you ask me. And the Central might have 2 wild cards. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it all sorts out. But of the others, is there anything else that stood out to y'all in terms of these power rankings? Or are you guys ready to get on the bold predictions?
Well, the only way I'd cheer for the Wild is to get Fleury another ring.
Yeah, well, I'd have
Honestly,
to make sure that the Avs were out.
Yeah, on his victory tour.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as he beats the Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Conference Final, then yeah, sure.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
How about this? Beats Vegas, beats Dallas, beats Edmonton, and then I don't know, beats whoever out east.
They're just not the most hated team anymore.
No,
for Avs fans.
And the deal would have to be that Fleury has to be mic'd up the whole time.
Yeah.
And come on, it would be fun.
Yeah,
and the Penguins have to
I was just gonna say that.
Oh God!
Or trade
goes
my
Sidney
season-long prediction if that happens.
Sidney Crosby will be a Wild.
There's Ezra's hot take.
Yeah,
his prediction for the day is that the Penguins make the Stanley Cup.
I think the Penguins are sellers immediately, and they don't. Yeah. The only thing on that list, that power ranking list, that like really jumped out to me is how did they get this? Is St. Louis in the middle of St. Louis is so bad. What in what world are they 16? That's terrible. But,
oh man,
don't they still have more points than Colorado?
No, they
right
don't.
Now?
No, they don't.
Not right now.
They're
Okay.
2 points back. Yeah.
They also have 2 players with broken ankles.
Yeah, Exactly.
I mean, I'm not.
know.
No, they're the only team that
literally.
can
I know you
sort
do.
of compare their injury issues to Colorado.
Yeah.
I guess Utah maybe could too, but
But you said this was made like 2 games before the Avs added 4 points.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
that could be another reason.
right, it's sorted by points percentage, but it shouldn't be. They're so bad.
Yeah.
I dislike Bennington.
Yeah, hate them.
I don't think you can. I'd be surprised if you found an Avs fan that didn't share that
A
opinion.
single one. That's the challenge. To those of you watching today, go
That's
find
true.
you one
Does anybody
Avs
like
fan.
Bennington? That
I'm not going to
primarily
use the word
cheers
hate.
for the Avs.
I'll use the word strongly dislike.
Hey, you mentioned that there was a Wild player with broken ankles. Was that Jared Spurgeon?
No.
was a
That
joke.
was
You don't remember Nathan McKinnon breaking
Ooh,
Jared
I
Spurgeon?
get it.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
There's Torrey Krug and someone else like just last week broke their ankle for the Blues too.
Yikes.
So
Oh shoot. Oh, it was
And
the
Robert
Blues. So now
Thomas
my
is
joke
out.
doesn't make any sense. Well, let's get on to our bold predictions then. Let's recap what we had last week. Mr. Brandon, you were not here, so I'm just gonna give you a wrong buzzer. Just because, like, what the heck, dude? How dare you?
I was soaking up the sun in
Yeah,
Mexico. Come on.
Vacation. What is this? So let's go with you, Ezra. You said Pristupov, would have a point. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But man, I
He
was
still looks
impressed with 85. Yeah, I was impressed with 85. He'll probably be a part of the future of the Avs if I have it my way. As of right now, we'll see. Let's see who else. Evan, you said Anunin would get a shutout this week. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But Avs had a good week in terms of wins and losses, so we'll take that. And Jackie, you said Pristupov would outlast someone. He's not the next AHLer to be sent down.
Well, unfortunately, they sent 2 down, so we
Yeah.
can't test that theory.
Exactly. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to give you the wrong because
Right. It didn't happen.
It didn't
but
happen
I
that way.
wish that we at least.
He
had
might
been
come back
given-
tomorrow.
yeah, I was
No,
going to
I think
Probably not. Probably
they
not.
didn't
But he might.
practice.
say, if he comes back tomorrow on via paper, like if it's just paper transaction, like we'll get you your ding next week. Because
Okay, he's got to out. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
one of
It's
them's got
unlikely,
to
to be
stay
fair.
down before him, but I don't think so. I think they're planning for Wood and Drouin tomorrow, so
Yeah. seems
there's
that
a
way.
reason why they didn't practice or why Tynan and Prishpov didn't practice
Yeah.
today. So
That's fair. Okay, and then
Well, they weren't technically part of the team, but yeah.
right, but usually they don't paper them down when there's a practice because they can't participate in it.
And then myself, actually, dude, I'm doing pretty good this year. I'm not sure how bold this one ended up being. I know that Mikko was kind of on like a slump, but he's still Mikko Rantanen. But my bold prediction was that he'd have 2 multi-point games, and he did. So I got myself a ding. Yeah, so that's cool. Let's roll the music and let's think about this week's bold predictions. And I have some from Twitter that we had from fans. So we'll get into those as well.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
All right, so just to give you 4 more time to think about your bold prediction, I'm gonna read off some of the ones we got on X. We had Jonathan Peddle says the Avs bring in Gibson and Vetrano. So I'm thinking that's a season-long bold prediction. I'll give.
What do they trade for that?
Yeah, great question. That's what I'm gonna follow up. What's in the deal? We'll find out. All right, and
Sam Girard.
yeah, I was gonna say Sam Girard and Miles Wood.
George.
Yeah. The Pumpkin Eater says Pristupov gets 2 points. Well, fortunately, I don't think that's going to happen unless he does come back up. Anthony Pacino, longtime listener, Mr. Anthony Pacino says one of the bottom 6 or bottom D pairing players that will get sent to Loveland to make room for injured players returning will get claimed by another team, hopefully Shillington. Jeez, so.
They got to send him down first.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know they're willing to cut the cord. We'll
Yeah.
see.
And then
I think Kakkonen was like Winnipeg was like sitting there waiting. Like like Arizona was waiting for Johansson and Colorado was waiting for Johansson 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see definitely that. And then we had at Days Are Sunny said Miko wins the Rocket Richard. So that's another season-long prediction. That would be pretty cool.
That'd
Let's
be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, that's a conversation I think I'll bring up on our next episode about Miko. That I think, although obviously he's still got a year, I'm already worried because
come on.
I'm worried because of the price, Brennan. That's why I'm worried. He has
Well,
an
I
agent.
mean, yeah, it's not getting any cheaper.
Do I need to be my mom and call you quit being such a worrywart?
Well, I mean, I'm just using logic here. It's his agent's job to get him as much money as humanly possible, and he's going to do everything.
He's held out before,
and he got what he wanted last time. He held out.
So it may have not been what he wanted. It's what his agent wanted.
Well, let's leave that for the next episode because it seems like we got a spicy topic right here. So we'll start with that one.
I hate negotiations.
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly's story ruined negotiations.
Don't get me going on that one.
But let's go, Evan. What you got for me?
I am once again still in desperate need of a ding. I don't think I've gotten one since last year. I should go back and go look. Honestly, that would be interesting.
We need to keep a running log.
There you go. So if this is a layup, you can shut it down. But I'm going to say Nathan McKinnon has a 5-point week.
Over 3 that is
come on.
Okay. 7 points. 7 points.
7 is not. Yeah, I'll give you 7.
7. Okay.
He had 9 points in 3 games for the second star of the week.
Or you can say 5 on 5 points.
No, I won't go that far.
We're taking the power play out of it.
7 points in the 3 games between now and our next show.
I think something's going to happen now to him in the next week, and then I'm just never going to participate in this series ever again.
Yeah, we will definitely.
As he goes back on mute,
we will definitely blame you if that happens, Evan. Ezra, what you got for me?
I'm gonna go Nichushkin power play goal on Friday.
I can see that.
I can see that also.
I wonder if he's on the first unit though right away. That said something like if it's working, he's not going to change the power play.
That's basically what I'm betting on because I think if he is there, he scores. If he's not there, obviously he won't.
Okay, I like that.
My fantasy team likes that.
I was gonna say, your opposition will be so mad. It's like having Christian McCaffrey nowadays. Jackie, what you got for me? I'm gonna delete last week. You said you had a bold hope. I'm not sure if that's the case this week. What you got for me?
No, I wouldn't say this more of a hope. Let's see. I think Annan's next start will be Philly. That'll be my prediction. I want to say I think either his first start was against Philly years ago. There's something. Was that what it was? I couldn't remember if it was his first game or first start, but I think it was.
It was against Philly in Philly.
Yeah. So I think that is the next game that Annan will start. So that's gonna be my bold prediction.
I like it, and then
hopefully it will be EJ's 1,000th game.
I'm gonna put that one down too.
Enjoy that. Yeah, you can put that down. I hope because he still does need 1 game and 1 scratch. So it's not a guarantee that lines up that way.
So, and I also have you down for season long with goalie trade before Nuke, Utah making the playoffs, Ludwig playing forward before the season's end, and Nichushkin will play more games than Arturi Lekanen.
You guys, I think I deserve an immediate ding.
Why is that? What happened?
Just 2 minutes ago or whatever, maybe 5 minutes, I said Pittsburgh's going to be a seller, and they just traded Lars Eller to Washington for 2 draft picks.
Wow, I mean, whoo!
For 2
picks? I heard you.
Guess what? Neither one's a second rounder. It's a 3rd and a 5th.
Wow.
Wait, what just happened? My headphones went.
Lars Eller was traded by Pittsburgh
to Washington.
What a bold move. Dubas really, burning it down. Lars Eller.
Where did Lars Eller get traded to?
Washington.
Oh, boy.
The Capitals, he's back.
So the return of Lars Eller game on Friday.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, he was originally in Washington, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. All right, Brandon, what you got?
Montreal, then Washington,
then I first off, I want to say any trade with Nichushkin has to be approved by him. Yeah. He has a no move clause. So
fair.
Just wanted to get that in there because I was looking that up. 2 points by Nichushkin against the Caps.
2-pointer nuke against the Caps.
I'm not going to be specific assists or goals, but
I like
just
it.
2 points.
All right. And then for your season longs, I got you Landeskog coming back to score 15 goals. Avalanche debuting Trent Miner. Evan, for your season longs, you got Penguins will miss the playoffs. That's looking pretty good.
I'm feeling very good about that. Might be my only ding of the season if that's how things are going.
And then you had Mika will get paid less than McKinnon if he does not re-sign before the season starts. So the season has started, but we don't know what that number is yet. So we'll revisit that when it comes time. As I've notoriously mentioned on the last 2 episodes, I had Winnipeg missing the playoffs as my season long bowl prediction. Yikes. And Ezra, you had Sam Malinsky and Nikolai Kovalenko finishing within 10 points of each other. Let's get an update on that real quick.
Sure. Let me look.
I'll look up Kovalenko. You look up Malinsky.
I know Kovalenko has 6. I can tell you that right now. I don't know exactly how many Malinsky has.
I think Malinsky has like
He
4.
Has
Like
4.
3 or 4.
1 goal, 3 assists.
2 goals and 4 assists for Covey. So they're pretty close. You're on track. You are definitely on track for that. So that just leaves my bold prediction this week. I feel like, I mean, at this point, since I'm doing so well, I keep getting dings. I might as well go with a bold hope. And so this time, I'm going to say that when we speak next week, the Avalanche will be on a 5-game win streak. They will go undefeated this week. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Nice.
I think the return of these guys will be enough to get them really rolling. And then we'll see how it goes next week when we come back. So Nichushkin to score a power play goal on Friday from Ezra. Jackie says Annanen's next start will be against the Flyers. Ado says the Avs will go undefeated this week. McKinnon will score 7 points in 3 games for Evan. And Nuke will get 2 points against the Caps for Brennan. And that's what we got. Sounds good. I love it. I love it very much.
And Ovi will get a goal.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put that one down too.
Yeah.
I'll put that one down too.
I always love Ovi goals. I don't care who it's against. I just love Ovi goals.
One of the things we didn't talk about, which you lead me to, because I like the way Ovechkin is always very passionate in his celebrations. We saw a passionate response from Cale Makar, and there was some funny tidbits in the locker room after, like including Logan O'Connor basically saying that he laughed at Cale Makar when he celebrated super hard because he's just so not used to seeing Cale celebrate like
shorty,
that.
wasn't it?
It was his second shorty of his career. And that little tidbit, which I thought was cool, was Makar said, yeah, it was like vintage Iginla, which he's a Calgary boy, right? So he loved watching Iginla. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I like Ovi goals for Sellies, and I liked that Cale Makar Selly the other night as well. Awesome.
Before I started writing, I always went to Washington games just to see Ovi.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. This is really off topic, but I'm going to leave Avalanche fans with this because I think we're done for the day. And thank you to the 4 of you for joining me, Ezra, Jackie, Evan, and Brennan. In another world, in another dimension, Nathan McKinnon is not a Colorado Avalanche. The Avs drafted Seth Jones, and he ended up a Nashville Predator, or he ended up a Tampa Bay Lightning. So let's just be happy that we live in a reality where Nathan McKinnon, the Avs got it right. They picked the right guy. They drafted a generational talent. And we, instead of watching Seth Jones, get to watch the MVP, Nathan McKinnon. So with that, Avalanche fans, I hope you have a wonderful evening. And I hope that the next time we speak, the Avalanche are still on a heater and they are still doing that thing, you know. That's right, baby. We're going streaking still. So, last but not least, for myself, Adrian Hernandez, and the rest of you folks on the Mile High Hockey Lab, thank you very much for tuning in, and go at it.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.